everyone, we're Smold, a team competing in FLL, or First LEGO League. This video is designed to help people switching from EV3 to Spike Prime really get into the Spike Prime, and anyone really starting to use the Spike Prime. In this video, we're going to cover our 10 most helpful tips that we learned while using the Spike Prime and all of the things that come in between. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Our first and foremost tip for using the Spike Prime is to build around its advantages. It has a much faster response time with a smaller size. The faster response time allows it to be more reactive, which allows it to quickly detect and react to things on the board. The small size allows you to go through places that you can't on the EV3 and gives you an easy inspection bonus for 20 free points out of that gate.
Our next and equally important tip is one that we learned the hard way, and that is to never make the button here unpressable. It's the button that will be running the programs for your robot, so you need to make it pressable. This is especially important if you're aligning the robot against the wall, and that might make the button unpressable in certain cases. Some possible solutions to this are just adding spacers like we did, or just, putting the button on the top of the robot.
Our next tip is specifically about the gyro, which is a very useful and consistent tool that is pre-implemented into the Spike Prime. A gyro is a mechanism that keeps itself parallel to an axis and that records angular momentum. However, if it finds itself going at breakneck speeds, the gyro can sometimes give out wacky readings, and this is the same in the Spike Prime. The gyro, whilst a helpful tool, still has a limit to what it can do. If it has a very extreme turn, then it can't register it and it gets confused. The max speed that we found that leaves the gyro consistent and still helpful is around that 100 to 200 range in the code. These wacky readings from the gyro will definitely screw up any code for it that you have for it, so make sure to be careful.
This tip you should definitely listen to, as it is the most annoying and inconvenient part about using the Spike Prime. The Spike will sometimes seize up and be in a glitch state where you can literally not run the programs. If this happens, you need to take the brick off of the robot, take the battery out and put it back in for it to work again. And if you put the robot together with literal Craggle, it is a massive pain to get that spike out.
This brings us to our fifth tip, which relates into the fourth and is also extremely important, which is the Bluetooth is slow. It's slower than a snail. It's basically if a snail tried to go all the way to the robot and give it that code. That's basically how slow the Bluetooth is. So just wait. Don't press that button over and over again, because that will cause big problems. Exercise your patience, please. Because if you click that button over and over and over again, your Spike Prime will seize up and you'll have to do what you just did in the fourth step, which is very inconvenient if you're trying to use the Spike Prime. So just click that button, maybe you wait 2 seconds before clicking it again, but don't keep clicking that button over and over again.
This next tip is one that you should probably keep in mind from the beginning of building the robot, and that is, do not cover the charging port. Unlike the EV3, the Spike Prime doesn't have a recessed charging port, and its USB cable requires more clearance. So leave abundant space for the charging port. We actually had to change this in the middle of our design, which was super inconvenient and took up a lot of time. So if you want to save time, you should definitely do this in the beginning.
Our seventh tip is to not use ball bearings. They look really cool, sure, but their only real use is weight. They move inconsistency and give a lot of slippage. We recommend instead that you use rollers, as they can turn pretty easily but also create less slippage than the ball bearings.
This next tip is something that is useful depending on your situation. The Spike Prime has 6 ports, and if one of them is still free, you can use a color sensor to look at a specific color and next to a specific attachment. A detection of this color is very useful, as then you can make it so that your code runs a certain mission based on a certain color it sees, and this would make your runtime faster. This is only something that we are implementing for the first time this year, but other teams have set many examples for this online, and deduce that color-coded attachments make much faster handoffs.
Our ninth tip is to always document your changes and take photos. This is so when it's nearing the end of the season and you're preparing to present your robot design, you will have pictures that you can go back to. This will be so useful for presenting and will give you free robot design points at the competition.
And overall, one of the most important tips for using the Spike Prime, and something that is super easy and useful to do, is to program in Python instead of in blocks. Python gives you much more options, so many more things that you can do with Python that you can't do with block coding. It opens up an entire new realm of possibilities for you to experiment with, and for our team, it's been really, really nice to have Python with things like console logging, advanced braking, and all of the other things that are included in Spike Prime and Spike's Python coding system. It makes it so useful for you to be using Python, and you should definitely try and use Python if you can. That's it for this video. We hope you enjoyed. Don't check out these videos here, but see you next time.